Welcome to my channel, Coin TASUAS HD. Today, we're taking a close look at 3 fascinating Liberty 5-cent Jefferson nickels that every coin collector should check: 1982D, 1989D, and 2000D. Could one of these Jefferson nickels be worth more than 5 cents? We'll explore their history, mintage, condition, current value, rare mint errors, varieties, and the important details that collectors look for. We'll also discover which of these 3 nickels can be more valuable in high grades or with genuine mint errors. So before you spend your old nickels, make sure you watch until the end, because you might have an interesting 1982D, 1989D, or 2000D Jefferson nickel hiding in your collection or coin jar. Stay with us, and let's discover the real value of these fascinating 5-cent coins. Let's get started. Top 3 first up. The 1982D Jefferson 5-cent is a United States Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint in 1982. At first glance, this coin may look like an ordinary 5-cent piece, and in most circulated examples, that is exactly what it is. However, collectors still pay attention to the 1982D nickel because condition, strike quality, unusual errors, and varieties can make an otherwise common coin much more interesting. The key point for collectors is that the date and D mint mark alone do not make a 1982D nickel rare. Its potential value comes primarily from its grade, eye appeal, exceptional preservation, or a genuine mint error or recognized variety. That makes this coin a great example of why you should never judge a coin only by its face value. The 1982D nickel belongs to the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and continues today. The coin was introduced to honor Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd President of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence. By 1982, the Jefferson nickel had already been in production for more than 4 decades, and the basic design remained familiar to Americans. The early 1980s were also an important period for the United States Mint, because the country was dealing with changing production costs, inflation, and enormous demand for circulating coins. The Jefferson nickel remained a 5-cent denomination made primarily for everyday commerce, rather than as a precious metal investment coin. The 1982D, therefore, represents an ordinary but historically interesting piece of American pocket change from the early 1980s. Because millions were produced, collectors generally do not consider the normal 1982D nickel a key date. Nevertheless, surviving examples in unusually high grades can be much more difficult to locate than ordinary circulated pieces. A small star separates Liberty from the date. The portrait and lettering were created from the original design by Felix Schlag, whose Jefferson nickel design was selected by the United States Mint in the 1930s. On the reverse, the famous Monticello building appears in the center, representing Jefferson's Virginia home. Above it is the inscription EPLUOBUSUNUM, while United States of America, 5 cents, and MONTICLLO complete the design. The standard Jefferson nickel specification is approximately 21.2 millimeters in diameter, weighs 5 grams, and is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Unlike the World War II silver alloy Jefferson nickels of 1942 through 1945, the 1982D nickel contains no silver. This distinction is important because some people mistakenly believe every Jefferson nickel has precious metal content. The D located on the reverse of the 1982D Jefferson nickel identifies the Denver Mint as the facility where the coin was struck. In the modern Jefferson nickel design used at the time, the mint mark appears on the reverse near the right side of Monticello. The absence of a mint mark can be completely normal depending on the production facility and year. The 1982D Jefferson nickel had a mintage of approximately 459.4 million pieces. That is a substantial production figure, so the normal 1982D is considered a common-date Jefferson nickel rather than a rare or key-date coin. The value of a normal 1982D Jefferson nickel is generally modest. In heavily worn or poor condition, it is normally worth around its face value, approximately 5 cents, assuming it has no unusual error or variety. In the upper mint state grades, especially coins that approach the finest known population for the date. Values can rise substantially above ordinary uncirculated prices. Auction records for ordinary 1982 D. Jefferson nickels should also be viewed carefully. Exceptional certified specimens can sell for significantly more than normal examples, particularly when they receive very high numerical grades and have strong registry set appeal. However, there is no legitimate basis for claiming that a normal 1982 D nickel is worth thousands or millions of dollars. If you see sensational online claims saying every 1982 D nickel is worth a fortune, be extremely cautious. The truly valuable examples are usually exceptional condition coins or genuine mint errors and varieties, not ordinary circulated pieces. This is where searching your 1982 D nickels becomes much more exciting. Although the normal 1982 D is common, a genuine mint error can be considerably more valuable. Doubled dies require special attention because not every apparent doubling is a true double die variety. Machine doubling, die deterioration, scratches and damage can easily be mistaken for valuable doubling. A missing mint mark is especially important to understand. On a 1982 D nickel, the D should be present, but simply finding a weak or damaged mint mark does not prove a rare error. A suspected major mint error should ideally be examined by a professional or submitted to a reputable third-party grading service. The exciting part about the 1982 D. Jefferson nickel is that you do not necessarily need to visit a major coin show to find one. Check the date, mint mark, overall surfaces, lettering, Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello details. Look for unusual doubling, cracks, missing sections, abnormal shapes, or evidence that the coin was struck incorrectly. Do not clean the coin. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may dramatically reduce collector appeal, especially if the coin could otherwise qualify for a high grade. Avoid polishing, rubbing, chemical dipping, toothpaste, abrasive materials, or household cleaners. As an investment, the ordinary 1982 D. Jefferson nickel should be approached realistically. It is not generally considered a major investment coin, and millions were struck. This can create strong premiums for truly exceptional specimens even when the underlying date is common. One fascinating fact is that the Jefferson nickel is one of the longest-running American coin designs still associated with everyday United States coinage. Next up, the 1989 D. Jefferson 5 cent is a United States Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint in 1989. With a face value of just 5 cents, this coin may look ordinary at first, but collectors know that the real story of a coin is often found in its condition, production history, and unusual characteristics. The 1989 D is not considered a rare date in normal circulated condition because a very large number were produced. However, sharply struck examples with excellent original surfaces, high mint state grades, or genuine mint errors can be more desirable and can bring premiums above face value. So before you throw an old 1989 D nickel back into your change, take a close look. A common coin can become an interesting collectible when it has the right combination of condition and rarity. The 1989 D nickel is part of the famous Jefferson nickel series that began in 1938. The series was created to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the most important figures in early American history. By 1989, the Jefferson nickel design had already been circulating for more than 50 years, making it one of America's longest-running coin designs. The Denver Mint produced millions of these nickels for everyday commerce, where they were used in stores, vending machines, cash registers, and pocket change throughout the United States. The year 1989 was also an interesting period in American history. The United States was experiencing a growing economy, rapid technological change, and the final years of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall fell in November 1989, marking one of the most memorable events of the late 20th century. While the 1989 D nickel was not created as a commemorative coin, it is still a small piece of the everyday history of that year. For collectors, coins such as this provide a tangible connection to the past because millions of people actually carried and spent them during an important period in American history. The obverse, or front, of the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel displays a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Above the building is the traditional motto, EPLUBUSUNUM, while United States of America, 5 cents, and MONTCLLO appear around the design. The standard 1989 Jefferson nickel weighs approximately 5 grams and measures about 21.2 millimeters in diameter. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a plain edge. One important point for beginners is that the 1989 D nickel does not contain silver. Some older Jefferson nickels made during World War II used a silver alloy, but the regular 1989 nickel returned to the standard copper-nickel composition. The D Mint mark identifies the Denver Mint as the production facility. On the Jefferson nickel design used in 1989, the mint mark can be found on the reverse near Monticello. The 1989 D. Jefferson nickel had a mintage of approximately 570.8 million coins. With more than 500 million pieces produced, the regular 1989 D is clearly a common-date Jefferson nickel rather than a scarce or key-date coin. Large numbers entered circulation, and many examples still survive today. The normal 1989 D. Jefferson nickel is generally a low-value coin, and condition is extremely important. In poor or heavily damaged condition, it is usually worth only its face value of 5 cents. In ordinary circulated condition, a typical example may bring approximately 5 to 25 cents, although dealers may simply treat common circulated pieces as face value material. Collectors should inspect the coin carefully for an off-center strike, where the design is noticeably shifted because the blank was not positioned correctly between the dies. This happens when the metal strip is improperly punched, leaving a characteristic missing section on the finished coin. Die cracks are another type of mint-made anomaly. They can appear as raised lines or raised areas created by cracks developing in a worn striking die. Rotated die errors can also be collectible when the reverse is significantly rotated relative to the obverse. Wrong planchet errors are much more unusual and potentially more valuable because the coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or composition. Genuine doubled dies should also be investigated, but collectors need to be very careful because ordinary machine doubling, die deterioration, scratches, and post-mint damage can look like doubling to an inexperienced eye. A missing mint mark on a 1989 nickel also needs special attention because Philadelphia normally produced coins without a mint mark. Therefore, the absence of a D does not automatically mean you have discovered a rare error. A suspected major error should be authenticated by a reputable numismatist or professional grading service before assigning it a high value. These coins were made in huge quantities and can still appear in old collections, coin jars, inherited boxes, estate sale accumulations, and rolls of older nickels. 5-cent coin that looks ordinary to everyone else can become interesting when careful examination reveals something unusual. Before selling your 1989 D nickel, examine it under bright, neutral lighting and use a magnifying glass or loupe if necessary. First confirm the date and D mint mark, then inspect the surfaces for heavy contact marks, scratches, discoloration, and signs of cleaning. From an investment perspective, the ordinary 1989 D Jefferson nickel should be viewed realistically. If interest in modern Jefferson nickels continues to grow, exceptionally preserved 1989 D examples could benefit, but there is no guarantee of future appreciation. For most collectors, the better strategy is to buy quality rather than quantity, learn how grading works, and focus on genuinely scarce characteristics instead of sensational online claims. One fascinating fact about the Jefferson nickel is that the design has survived for generations and has become one of the most recognizable American coin designs. Another surprising fact is that a coin's original mintage can be enormous, while truly top-quality survivors are comparatively scarce. Next up, the 2000 D Jefferson 5 cent, commonly called the 2000 D Jefferson nickel, is a United States 5-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint in the year 2000. It carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the reverse. With a face value of only 5 cents, it may look like ordinary pocket change, but collectors know that coins from the modern era can become interesting when they have exceptional condition, unusual varieties, or genuine mint errors. The 2000D is not a rare date in normal circulated condition because hundreds of millions were produced. However, high-grade examples with beautiful original luster and very few marks can attract collectors, while dramatic mint errors can be worth considerably more. The important lesson is simple. Don't assume every 2000D nickel is valuable, but don't ignore one without examining it carefully. The 2000D Jefferson nickel belongs to the famous Jefferson nickel series introduced in 1938. The coin was created to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and an important figure in American history. The original design was selected through a competition held by the United States Mint, with Felix Schlag winning the competition and creating the design that became the Jefferson nickel. By the year 2000, Americans had been using this design for more than 60 years. The 2000D was produced primarily for everyday commerce, meaning these coins were intended to circulate through stores, vending machines, banks, and people's pockets rather than serve as rare collector pieces. The year 2000 itself was historically memorable because the world entered a new millennium, and concerns about the Y2K computer problem attracted enormous attention. The United States economy was also experiencing the technology-driven boom of the late 1990s and early 2000s. Every 2000D nickel, therefore, represents a small physical connection to the beginning of the new millennium and to everyday American life at that time. The obverse or front of the 2000D Jefferson nickel shows a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. The inscription "In God We Trust" appears on the left side, while Liberty, a small star, and the date 2000 appear on the right. The original design was created by Felix Schlag. On the reverse, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, is displayed prominently in the center. Above Monticello is the motto EPLUBUSUNUM, while United States of America, 5 cents, and MONTICLLO appear around the building. Letter D identifies the Denver Mint, meaning the coin was struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver, Colorado. On the Jefferson nickel design used in 2000, the mint mark is located on the reverse, near the Monticello building. The mint mark is an important part of identifying the coin, but it does not automatically make a 2000D rare. Philadelphia also produced Jefferson nickels during this period, and Philadelphia coins normally carried no mint mark. The 2000D Jefferson nickel had a very large production run, with approximately 1.027 billion coins struck at Denver. That enormous number makes the regular 2000D a common date coin, not a key date or major rarity. This is important because online coin videos sometimes confuse a large mintage with a rare coin. In reality, the normal 2000D is readily available. The value of a normal 2000D Jefferson nickel depends heavily on condition. In poor condition, where the coin is heavily worn or damaged, it is generally worth its face value of 5 cents. The most exciting part of searching a 2000D nickel is looking for genuine mint errors. An off-center strike is one possibility. The 2000D nickel is also sometimes associated with online claims about unusual lettering, doubling, or missing details. Collectors should be careful with these claims. A genuine variety or mint error should have characteristics created during the manufacturing process and should be distinguishable from ordinary damage or mechanical doubling. If you believe your 2000D has a major error, compare it with reputable numismatic references and consider professional authentication before assuming a high value. The 2000D Jefferson nickel is actually a fun coin for treasure hunters because it is young enough that large numbers remain in circulation and old enough to have accumulated in collections and coin jars. Before selling a 2000D Jefferson nickel, examine it carefully under good lighting. Start by confirming the date and Denver D mint mark, Then inspect the surfaces for scratches, contact marks, discoloration, and signs of cleaning. Study the lettering, date, portrait, Monticello, rim, and edge for possible mint-made abnormalities. The investment potential of the normal 2000 D Jefferson nickel is limited because more than 1 billion were produced. One of the most interesting facts about the 2000 D nickel is that it was struck at the beginning of a new millennium, making it a natural date for collectors interested in modern American history. If you enjoyed this 2000 D Jefferson nickel value and error guide, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Coin TIASUAS HD, and turn on notifications for more rare coin discoveries, Jefferson nickel values, mint errors, and collecting tips.